Yeah, just you mentioned footy. You were quite a talented footballer, and we'll talk a bit more about it. But who did you play with in Melbourne before you went down to Geelong?
In Melbourne, I did Collingwood just in the thirds and seconds, and that for 3 years, I think. 2 years in the thirds, 1 in the seconds. Yeah, 3 years there. Got the flick. And before that, I played in the Preston district, junior football, the Preston Scouts, who famously had Ron Barassi as one of their players, and a few other blokes that turned out to be really strong. And Morgans, they played with, but a lot of them played with the Scouts, a lot of cricket club blokes. Under 18s, did all right there. We won a premiership there, actually. This is a funny story. I should tell you this one. We're playing in the grand final against Northcote Parks in the under 18s. This must have been 65, I think. Anyway, the scores were 3 points behind, and about 2 minutes to go. We'd kicked a goal, but we started to do another one to win. The ball goes back to the middle, the umpire bounced it up. They knocked it down a bloke, Dougie Nichols, he's playing for Northcote Parks, picked it up, and he's the grandson of Doug Nichols, Pastor Doug Nichols, this boy, the Aboriginal boy, nice little fella. He kicked it our way, kicked it the wrong way. Right. He kicked it straight down the throat of one of our blokes. He turned around, kicked the goal, and the bloody siren went, geez. And they're chasing poor little Dougie all over the bloody ground. They're going to kill him, poor little kid. Anyway, this day, I'll never forget it. It was just, I felt sorry for him. He was a good little player and a good little guy too. But I was calling him some terrible things. The stuff that you go to jail for these days if you said it. So I went down to Collingwood then and played under 18s and under 9s and in the reserves. Came close a couple of times, I think, to getting a Guernsey, but just didn't work out. So they flicked me. That just didn't put me on the list. We found out in the newspaper, basically. And I went to Brisbane and played after that. Right. Got bashed up in the first game, very first game. This bloke cleaned me up, and I had a spleen taken out and some broken ribs and some kidney removed. It was a good hit, and didn't play again that year. So they got no value out of me at all. They paid me fair money as well, and board and all the rest of it. And I just couldn't play. And they weren't very happy about it, but there's no way I could play. It's ridiculous. So I got up and hit this bloke back. I got him, and I got reported for it by the umpire for hitting him. And even he was a bloke called Stuart, and he was saying, "No, don't report him for that, please." And I was in hospital, and the league rang the hospital to see if they could hold the tribunal in my hospital ward, and they just said, "That's true." And then he came in to see me, Doug, Stuart, I think his name was. He said, "Look, I'm sorry about what happened." And I said, "Look, it's all just done. Forget about it." I remember saying that to him. But yeah, they want to have the tribunal in the bloody hospital room, which is a bit bloody bizarre. Absolutely. They're going to rub it out. I said, "You can give me 15 weeks if you like, because I'm not playing again for the rest of the season, so I really don't care." Oh, crikey.
You came back and played at Preston on and off, but footy was really your priority. And you found your way to Geelong, where you became a legend in the Geelong Football League.
In the Geelong Footy League, yeah. I got lucky there. I met a guy through business, actually. He was connected to one of the local clubs down there, St Peter's. And they're looking for a coach, and I got the job there. And they won the Premiership the year before. So they've only lost one game the year before. And he said, "Before you accept the job, you must know that the only thing that's going to satisfy the committee is going through undefeated, being champions." He said, "They know they can win the Premiership, but they want this championship." I thought, "Gee, that's a fair bit of pressure." Anyway, we got through to the grand final undefeated. And we played a team in the grand final, Corio. We'd be beaten by 20 goals in the second semi. 3/4 time, we're 5 points in front, kicking into what would be about a 5-goal win, I suppose. And I thought, the writing was on the wall. You see it all the time, don't you? Undefeated team loses grand final. Yeah. We had a few smart players, and because I was getting a bit yippy, and they said to me, these smart players said, 3/4 time, don't worry about it, we'll get it done. And they did, they got it done. So we went through champions, and I coached them for 4 years. We never got to those heights again, but we got in the grand final the next year. We never didn't win that, and then left there in Torquay, approached me to coach them. So went there for 1 year. We got beaten the preliminary final, I think. There should have won that. Should have won the premiership. But anyway, that's another story. And Geelong offered me the coaching job of the under-19s out of the blue, which I was really wrapped in. That's what I wanted to do, actually. So I got lucky. You know, I don't know how it came about. But anyway, I contacted them in the end. Went there and did that for 3 years. That was the most enjoyable football I've ever had in my life. Was those 3 years coaching under-19s. It was just marvellous. It's watching the kids develop and go on and mature as people. It was just terrific. We had a few Aboriginal boys as well, which they took, they were out of their comfort zone, if you like, so we had to manage them. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
Met some characters there as well.
You clearly did an excellent job because you got promoted to coach the seconds, where you were coach to Malcolm Blight.
So
a couple of years. Malcolm was there. That must have been one hell of an experience working.
It was. Yeah, I was a bit nervous about it, to tell you the honest truth, because he's legendary, of course. But I discovered that these legends have got their insecurities as well. It's on the exterior is that they haven't, but deep down they really have, and they always need someone with them confirming what they're doing is okay, or don't do that, it's silly, And Malcolm was no different to that. He's a terrific guy, and a really, really good coach, innovative coach, left field coach, by the way. And he had his moments to loosen the plot like we all bloody do, like idiots, That Austin McCrabb story, I don't know whether you're aware of that, Austin.
Yes.
It's a story. Oh, crikey. He said to me, I was walking down the ground, quarter time, he said, I'm going to go and hit him. And I said, that'd be ridiculous. And he said, I'm telling you, I'm going over, I'm going to punch you straight in the head. I said, yeah, that's a good idea. He said, you've got on the front page of every newspaper in Australia, on the lead news on every TV news, coach hits player. I don't think it's going to go down well. He said, okay, I'm going to do it. Anyway, so I got him by the arm, we're walking out, and Austin McCrabb's walking across the ground of the huddle, and he's yelled out to him, just stay there, don't move, I don't want you coming anywhere near us. And Austin looked shocked, so he was sort of 30, 40 metres away. Anyway, Malcolm Dad goes on with his thing. And then half time we go in and the players sitting around the room at Waverley. Malcolm picked up a footy and fires one of his torpedoes, which he was pretty good at, straight at bloody Austin's. And into the top of his head, had a bloody haircut. And I thought, oh no, please don't. We come into training on the Monday night, and Austin, he didn't know anything about it. I said, are you okay with everything? And he said, yeah, what's the problem? He thought that Malcolm was telling us how well he was playing and didn't want to embarrass him. This is what he said to me. He's a wonderful bloke, Austin. He said, so it wasn't that? And I said, no, mate, you're filming the news all freaking day about how you told us to not come near us and all that. And, that's strange. I thought he was telling us how well I was going. And all he did was kick the ball across the ground. The Hawthorn got a goal out of a bad kick. It wasn't crime of the century, but that's why he couldn't understand it. He finished up playing for Hawthorn, ironically.
You were a participant, albeit as the assistant coach in the coach's box, but probably one of the most famous grand finals of all time, the 89 grand final. Hawthorn played Geelong. What's your memories of that game, Dennis?
That's a blur, by the way. And I, like a lot of people, blokes, haven't watched the replay of it. I've seen bits and pieces on TV, mainly the crash at the start, which was set up. I mean, he actually volunteered for that. And it wasn't meant to be. That's turned out. It was supposed to frighten him more than they knocked him out. But Preston, to his credit, of course, got up and kicked bloody goals. It was good. I remember the Geelong blokes being super fired up and doing crazy stuff, punching blokes all over the place. Little guys like Brunsey and these guys way out of their league, not trying to punch these blokes. At any rate, we just went the man and said the ball. That's the bottom line. In the first quarter, they kicked 6 or 7. I think we kicked 1. The game was nearly done and dusted then at quarter time. But they put a few injured and they just fell over the line in the end. It could have been a draw. Probably should have been a draw, actually. The other memory was Ablett kicked 8 or 9 goals in the grand final and got the Norm Smith in the losing side. It was just absurd. But it was a great day. Well, it wasn't a great day. We lost. We had 3 teams in. First, the team I coached in seconds got beat by 3 points. We were 42 points up and got beat by 3. That's a source of some nightmares for me against Fitzroy. I was a lifelong Fitzroy supporter. Anyway, and the under-19s got beaten by 2 points, I think, as well. So it's one of those disastrous days, you know. And anyway, it was a good experience. In those days at the MCD, the coaches' boxes were right next to each other and only just like a glass dividing, and you could hear what was going on, basically. And when Burton went over, Jeans, the late Jeans, was bashing on the bloody window. You dirty bastards, blah, 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 blah. So you really wanted to carry on about it. Anyway, at the end of that season, they had in those days these end of season games overseas in Europe, London and America and all that. And Malcolm refused to go on it, so I had to go 2 years in a row as coach for these games. And I was getting on a bus, and Hawthorn were on the bus. We're going on a bus somewhere to go to a game or training or something. And Jeans, he was sitting as I'm walking past him, he said, "We've got to talk about that incident." Nothing. Hawthorn had a bit of form. There was nothing hypocritical of him to say anything. And he wanted to introduce this law, the passive onlooker law, which meant you couldn't get taken out just by standing there looking at the ball, looking at the play. But they had a couple of players who used to do it all the time. But at Boundary Thrones, they just run through white blokes out, you know. And so that went nowhere. In fact, I went to the coaches' meeting where it was discussed, and other coaches just turned up, James, and laughed at it. But that was a great experience in itself, continuing with that blokes like that, I can tell you. Because he was the guru, you know. The media loved him.
I was doing a little bit of research on your football career, and you appeared in a major article in Florida's leading newspaper when Geelong played in Florida, trying to explain the game to a reporter who then...
I do remember that. That was ridiculous. They had no idea. They gave away about 12,000 tickets. And I think about 2,000 people turned up to the game. We played Collingwood, and the funny thing happened on that. We stayed at the same hotel as Collingwood, and the day of the football, which was the night game, the day of the football, both teams had a meeting. In the meeting time, we had a team meeting about what you're going to do on that. And Collingwood went first. No, we went first. Sorry, meeting lasted about half an hour. And who was it? One of our players worked out with Collingwood boys that they'd hide him in the room and he'd be there for their team meeting. And I'm thinking, oh, it's not a great idea. Dwayne Russell it was, actually. Dwayne is a bit of a character. So halfway through the Collingwood team meeting, Dwayne's popped up in the bloody back of the room. Lee Matthews just gone absolutely off his face about. They actually commentated the game as it was going on. It was really off-putting, actually, to try to explain to the Americans what was going on. Ridiculous game to explain.
Yes.
There's so much grey area, so much grey area to it. But it was a bit of fun. This little kid, I must tell you, this little kid about 8 or 9. There was no coach's box there. He was sort of sitting in the crowd, but on the front row. This little kid about 8 or 9 was standing right next to me. I could see him in the vision. I was watching the footy, of course. And I looked down at him after a while. I said, "Sorry, mate, what do you want?" And he looked up at me and he said, "You're not Crocodile Dundee." I said, "What did you say?" He said, "My dad said you were Crocodile Dundee." His old man's trying to make it rid of him for a while. He said, "That bloke down there is Crocodile Dundee. Come and bloody talk to him." Oh, dear. They had no idea. It didn't go anywhere. I think it lasted 2 years or something. But it was the brewery sponsor. They were trying to get Carlton Brewery was trying to get in there. I think that was what it was about. But it was
move off footy. Dennis, it would be remiss if you didn't just give us a few recollections on, probably one of the greatest footballers of all time, Gary Ablett.
Yeah, he's a good player, Gary, couldn't he? Saw some highlights of him the other day, and just staggering. His whole life, he's just they're different characters, like the geniuses are, aren't they? They're a bit different, and he wasn't big on his teammates. He never really got involved with many things. In fact, one of the boys, Peter White, his name is, was playing his first game for Geelong in Sydney. And on the bus to the airport, Gary Ablett thought that he was one of the trainer's sons. The trainers have a raffle on the bus. And Gary said, lend me $5 for the raffle ticket to Peter. And then Peter gave him the $5 and he said, who are you? And he said, Peter White, playing on the wing. Oh, I thought you were one of the trainer's sons, Gary said to him. He had no idea who he was. But he got to the football and just starred. He's just an unbelievable player, wasn't he? Things he did. I don't think we'll ever know another character like him. He's just so good.
What an experience you had.
It was great with him. We went to Perth. We played the Eagles one year, and a 50-seater. It must have been a pilot strike or something going on at that time. Can't remember now, but it was the AFL chartered this little plane basically to go to. And struck this wild weather about halfway across the Nullarbor. And the trainers always had a raffle, as I say, on the way over. But this time the prize was that if the plane's going down, the winner of the raffle gets to sit next to Gary Ablett because he'll be saved. And it was serious. He'll be saved. So they did the raffle. The bloke that won the raffle swapped seats with the bloke sitting next to Ablett. It's fun. I'm going down with him. It's an interesting player. Yeah. I'd love to see him. I've only been to him one time down at one of the last in Geelong, actually. And I don't think he's really sure who I was, to be honest. He lives up here for a while. When young Gary was playing here, he came here for a little while. Malcolm managed him beautifully. He really gets I think there's a fair bit of mutual respect going on there. And he sort of managed him to the best he could. He was a very good player, really good player.
I'm sure we could talk for hours and hours and hours, and I think a lot of the current and past players will look forward to seeing you back at the club, Dennis, to hear a bit more about your stories. But we should close from here. But let me just say you've been a wonderful character, a wonderful club person who's attended all of the reunions and used to get back down the club for finals and so on. So we're indeed very proud of what you've achieved as a Preston person, and we certainly look forward to seeing you again. You're one of the gems of the club, Dennis.
Appreciate it, Lee. Thank you very much. We'll talk soon.